Hey, listeners, it's great to be back. So great, in fact, that we got over enthused about our review about Disney Plus's Obi-Wan and decided it belongs in its own episode. So, this is a special mini bonus bite sized episode for all you Star Wars nerds out there. We hope you enjoy it, and we'll be back to the 50s on the next episode. Enjoy, and may the Force be with you. Let's make an adjacent right-hand turn into another popular genre franchise. Justin, what did we both watch this week?
Well, yeah. Speaking of, I think our to thread the needle a little bit, Travis. We made fun of the Toad character in the first X-Men movie, who Ray Park, martial artist extraordinaire, played, as I recall, in that movie before he got hit by lightning. Such a bummer when that happens. But anyway, Ray Park was also in episode 1 of Star Wars as Darth Maul, which I think was a great call. He clearly had the physicality to do that and still does, from all I've seen on the YouTubes and elsewhere. Anyway, and so related to Darth Maul, who's Darth Maul's main nemesis? If you are a Star Wars nerd like we are, then maybe you have children or don't and have watched the Star Wars children's shows anyway, like Clone Wars and Rebels, that have told us kind of what happens to Maul. Yes, spoiler alert, he did survive being cut in half because it's Star Wars.
It's Star Wars.
People are coming back from the dead.
More on people surviving presumed mortal injuries later in this snippet.
Yeah. We have Maul's nemesis, of course, being Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so, as of recording of this, again, Travis and I have both watched all of Obi-Wan in its entirety, and it's available for you to stream. I think we'd both recommend it, Travis. How would you rate the show?
Well, okay. We both like the show. It's a good show.
Yeah.
We both think.
Yes.
But let's quickly, if we can, because
Okay.
One of the lost episodes, you know what? That's too kind. One of the stolen episodes.
They stole our art.
It's gone. We did a deep, we did like a half hour on Star Wars, but let's not do that. I just want to go as quickly as possible, Justin.
Okay.
Let's go back and forth. I'll do you first, and we'll do every Star Wars property, post original trilogy and prequel trilogy, and you just tell me. Let's go against our better intentions here and just say thumbs up or thumbs down. If you had to do it, if you had to do the thumbs up or thumbs down for each of these,
okay,
you can do it. You've got this. You've been studying for this your entire life. Here we go. So we had, episodes 4, 5, and 6, and then 1, 2, 3, as one does release a franchise. And then, okay, ready? Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
Down.
Okay. Episode 8, The Last Jedi.
Down.
Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker.
Down.
Okay, down for the new trilogy. I'm not going in chronological order, but let's just keep going.
Okay.
Rogue One, A Star Wars Story.
Up.
Okay. Solo.
Up.
And what do we got? We got The Mandalorian as a whole, let's say. That's a tough one.
I guess it gets an up. It's like a northwest kind of up.
Gotcha. Okay. Boba Fett.
That's down, except for the two episodes in there.
No caveats, Justin.
Okay. It gets a down overall then.
Okay,
it gets
good.
A down.
Overall. Okay, and then we have both an up for Obi-Wan. Okay. Can you circle back and hit me with those, and we'll see. Just so people can see where we land, because we're not exactly the same on all of this.
Okay, 7.
That would be The Force Awakens. That's a down.
8.
Last Jedi. That's a big fat up from me.
9. Rise of Skywalker.
The biggest down that has ever been a thumbs down.
Okay. Rogue One, Star Wars Story.
Oh, pretty big up. Yeah.
And Solo.
That's a down for me.
And Mandalorian overall.
Down.
And my gosh, I forgot the last one, Travis. What is it? Boba Fett. That's how bad it was.
Boba Fett, I have no thumbs, didn't watch it, lost interest.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yikes.
so basically, if you just like make an aggregate score, as far as we're concerned, not that you need to agree with us on all of those things by any means, you can like whatever you want, but the most of the stuff that's come out post the Disney acquisition is not great. Like, I don't think, and I don't think, like, by and large, most of it's not great, right, Justin? I mean, like, the success rate is
Agreed.
yeah. So we were cautiously optimistic about Obi-Wan Kenobi for a couple reasons. I think the biggest and brightest was Ewan McGregor. Like, people live in this world of, like Star Wars rhetoric, like Star Wars talk is some of the worst in the world. Like, people are so crazy polarized and not objective about things, but
not at all like our political landscape in America.
No,
really,
that's just super healthy. Right. It's all going great. The thing that I've realized watching Obi-Wan and kind of watching people react to it is it's generational a little bit, right? Like, the prequels are the Star Wars movies that we grew up with being new releases.
Right.
Okay, so there's some nostalgia built in there because it's like you got to get excited about new Star Wars, and then sometimes you like it, sometimes you get let down. You got those rose-colored kid glasses on when you watch the prequels, and you're like, "This is the greatest movie," and then you watch it when you're 20, and you're like, "Wow, that's not good." So I think the prequels for me are a very mixed bag in general. But I'm not one of those people that looks at them and says they're all trash. But
it's for you, Travis, if I can, is that for me, I would agree.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because I think overall the prequels are a good story.
Yeah.
Just a very poor execution. Kind of everything else is not good, unfortunately. Is it similar for you, or what's your take on why it's a mixed bag?
I totally agree. The big arc is fantastic because George Lucas is there, right? George Lucas is there guiding the world building and the character. He knew the most important things, right? He knew where we were going to start with Anakin and Obi-Wan and where we were going to end up with Anakin and Obi-Wan as the two most important characters in the franchise. You know, Palpatine's not the most important. Padme's not the most important. None of those other people are the most important. It's really Anakin and Obi-Wan in the end. And everything in between the big arc is bad. Like pretty much everything in there is bad. The visual conceit, the green screenery that just went insane, the tonal, diplomatic, political subplot, it's all bad, right? But like when it lands the plane in episode 3, I don't know how you're not satisfied if you like Star Wars at the end of that movie, regardless of like how rough getting there might have been. So I look at the prequels and I just see the best things in the prequels are what seem to be being carried over into this series. And I'm like, this looks like a good idea. Like if there's any in-between story to be told here, you can do something interesting and original like Rogue One and bring in like wholly new characters and try to fix one of the biggest plot holes in cinematic history about the Death Star being so easy to explode and make some sense of it and do a fun job. And then in Obi-Wan, it's like, okay, take the character that matters in the in-between, and like, what did he do between 3 and 4? And because they got Ewan McGregor back, I had some hopes, and I gotta say, man, you're probably a little less positive overall than I am. I'm struggling in retrospect, having watched all 6 episodes, to find anything like overtly negative to say about this series from a character, storytelling, visual execution, acting standpoint, like all the most important things. The one gripe I have is the music in the early episodes it like alternates between really good John Williams stuff or John Williams inspired stuff and garbage, like just filler kind of stock music that doesn't make sense in Star Wars. It's really the first 2 episodes where that's really glaring. And then I feel like once you get past episode 2, it doesn't really happen anymore, weirdly.
Right.
But yeah, man, I loved it. Like I really I think I liked it. I love The Last Jedi, and that to me is like top tier Star Wars, and this is up there. Like it is as good as most things in the original trilogy, and that one like new offering that I really like brought to the table. So what about some specifics? Like what did you like about it specifically?
Specifically, I liked that there was an opportunity to answer the age-old question, can Hayden Christensen act in a Star Wars context? Because I think if you've seen him outside of Star Wars, I don't think there's really a legitimate question about his, like, can he do it? He is an actor.
Sure.
But and I think that's part of why his performance in the prequel trilogy is often mystifying. But I mean, if you really, kind of consider like lines that people might really loathe, like "I hate sand,"
right?
It's like, is that really a Hayden Christensen problem, or is the problem that somebody wrote a 3-word sentence that was "I hate sand," and then said, "Hey Hayden, can you pull this off?"
Yeah, what do you do with that line?
And so in Hayden's defense, right? I read recently in the Hollywood Reporter. I think it was the Hollywood Reporter anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry if it's someone else. He did an interview, of course, and the interviewer was asking him about, making the prequel trilogy and anything he wanted to share about that. And he said, well, there's one really interesting kind of thing happened with George Lucas. In episode 2, you may recall Anakin goes back to try to find his mom. And in doing so, he finds Watto again, right? And Watto's like, hey, Annie! And then so Hayden's reading the script, and he the day before shooting, he sees in there that he asks Watto something, and it says in Wattonese. And so he goes to George Lucas and he says, hey George, I see this says in Wattonese. What's that? And George says, well, it's as long as it doesn't sound like a language that somebody knows, it's fine, really. And he's like, what the heck? I mean, what kind of direction is that, listeners?
Seriously.
You know what I mean? Like, and to in George's defense, I think filming a humongous movie like any of the Star Wars movies, he got a lot going on, even with respect to how much a normal director has going on. I think he's up to his eyeballs and up to his gray silver hair in stuff to do. So I kind of get that response as just a flustered, like, please figure it out, actor. I don't have time for this. But on the same, other side of that coin, it's like, dude, what kind of direction? How is Hayden Christensen? So if that's the kind of direction Hayden Christensen was receiving on set, then ergo, it's not too surprising that we get some really, I wish I could wish away my feelings kind of deliveries, right? So anyway, I appreciated that even in episode 5 of Kenobi, I think it is, where we see a kind of a flashback to that same kind of era. Episode 2, you've got Obi-Wan and Anakin having a duel, and it's a teaching moment for Anakin. And I heard some complaints from some other, not from you, Travis, but from some other friends of mine who are Star Wars fans. Well, Ewan McGregor looks the same, but why didn't they de-age Hayden Christensen? And I thought, what the heck? Have we learned? So, all right. Travis and I are not a super humongous fans of the de-aging stuff that's going on. If you haven't tapped into that, from previous episodes where it may have come up, I think overall, Travis, it's really been it's a work in progress. I get it. The technology is kind of new, but it seems like in just a zealous desire to use this technology because we have it now, no one has stopped and been like, okay, yes, we have it, but does it look good?
Yeah.
And so we either get stuff that doesn't look good or looks really strange.
Right.
For example, really bad would be Tarkin in Rogue One.
Right.
Still a great movie, in my opinion, that should have just been recast. You can have a dude that just, or just not, he wasn't that integral to the plot. So it just kind of felt like, why did we do that? Or in a really weird sense, again, in Star Wars, how about in the, might have been in the Book of Boba Fett, actually, in that episode where, Luke is training Grogu, and Lucasfilm has hired this new guy who did these deep fake kind of CGI de-aging things and was a YouTube person that did that. And so the de-aging looks good if it's just like a still.
Right.
But what they realized is you can't really make him emote a whole lot and still look convincing. So the result is Luke just looks like like he's been numbed with Novocaine,
Yeah.
or he's just like super. He's got the Debbie Downers or something.
Yeah.
And so in my opinion, oh my goodness, I'm so excited then to see something like Hayden Christensen look like. Yeah, I mean, he looks like he's 40 because he freaking is.
Right.
But like I like life goes on.
Yeah.
Technology cannot solve fundamental problems like we're mortal.
Is it more important that he has a couple more crow's feet, or that the scene works? Like,
and the scene works. That's
so,
exactly it, Travis.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's just run through some of our favorite things from the show. So first of all, you know what? Reverse that. Here are some of the complaints I've heard that I don't buy. Okay, number one, that stuff that you mentioned, like Hayden Christensen looks older. I'm like, first of all, it's one scene. Like they cut back to that one scene. It's not like you see young Anakin 10 times. It's one scene that they kind of refer back to. And then when you see him later on, it's just an eyeball. And like, what are you complaining about? I don't understand that at all.
Well, yeah, because the only other times I can think that you actually see Hayden's face as Hayden is when Obi-Wan kind of has a vision of him on that planet.
Yeah.
Which is right? Yes, that's
So
my reaction too. It's beautiful. And then they have Reva has the flashback of being in the temple and being stabbed in the stomach. Right?
And he's in a hood.
Like face is kind of hood. Yeah. So what are we?
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Of all the things to complain about, it's like, dude, they brought back original actors and they were great. So what do you? Don't whine about the crow's feet. Like, who cares?
Please.
Okay, so other things. People don't like young Leia for two reasons. One, I've heard, oh, she's a terrible actor. I can't stand her line readings. Blah blah blah. And two, okay. Well, if Obi-Wan meets up with Leia now, it doesn't make any sense, the message she sends him later. Number one, child actors can be very bad, and she just wasn't. I just don't.
I agree.
I fundamentally think she was palatable to very good at times. And I'm like, I think people are annoyed that little girl actually acts like Leia would act, and she's kind of spunky and contradictory. She's spiky because Leia is that. And I think people are like, I don't like that kid. It's like, well, you wouldn't like that kid if you met her in real life. It has nothing to do with her acting.
Maybe so.
And so that's the other big one that I don't get.
Yeah, no, I don't buy that either. And I guess the other one, maybe I just don't understand what the complaint is from people, but to me that message makes a lot more sense.
So much more
that she gives.
Yes.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope, because now she knows. It's not just like her dad's like, well, Leia, I know this like Jedi guy that you've never met, you have no idea about, but he's like on Tatooine. If she heard that information, why would she act on that? I mean, that's beyond desperation. It's not even logical. But for her to have actual firsthand knowledge of who Obi-Wan is, what he's capable of, and what he's like, then that gives that line, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. It gives it some power. It gives it some muscle.
Makes it richer. And if you think about how, what I think the series does amazingly well is it touches all of the good properties and it stays far away from the bad ones. Like I'm saying, we all love episode 4, and that's where we see, Obi-Wan and Leia have this not really relationship, but this long distance communication that doesn't turn into any real contact, right? Because he gets swiped by Vader before they can
Oh, we would disagree there. I don't think he gets swiped, but that's okay. We can talk about that another time.
Okay, whatever. Anyway,
he disappears. He gives himself up to the Force.
That's what I mean, though. He disappears before they can sit down and have space coffee together. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Space coffee.
And okay, so you take that, right? And then you take Rogue One, where we see Leia turn around and say, like, what is it that they brought you? And she says, hope, right? And then it goes boom right into episode 4 if you stop that movie, or you start the next one. This introduces even just the word hope, right? And it comes from Obi-Wan, and then it goes to the message, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. And then later on in Rogue One, right before episode 4 starts, that line is dropped. What is it that they brought you? Hope.
Yeah.
It's to me, that's like a perfect thread. That's not there's no canon breaking, lack of continuity. This just emboldens everything that is already good. It just, like you said, beefs it up.
Well, and I appreciate that the writing team behind this, which was my biggest concern, honestly.
Okay.
Based on some of the past work that some of these other writers have been involved in.
Yeah.
But I'm super happy to report I think I was totally wrong. I mean, these people really, they knew. It doesn't mean like every single delivery or every single word of every sentence I thought was just like, deserves to be preserved in the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
But overall.
But it's Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exact. Thank you. Yeah, it's Star Wars. Again, let's have a little fun. Like, it can be didactic, but it can also be fun. And at best, it's going to be both.
Yeah.
Anyway, you have these writers that were so committed, not just to like, well, screw canon, let's just kind of make it fun and maybe people will like it. No, these guys and gals went out of their way to really make everything really ring true and really have meaning. And so I feel like, having Liam Neeson show up at the end as Qui-Gon Jinn is perfect, it's beautiful, and it's meaningful because you've had at least 4 other episodes where Obi-Wan called out to the emptiness, help me, Master, give me strength, Master. So you're like, oh, is he going to show up? Is he going to show up? And so when he does, it's not just like, oh, here's some fan service, like, here's the Nick Fury cameo in the random Marvel movie. It's like, no, there's
in episode 9. This is, I totally agree with you, Justin. In episode 9, okay, in The Rise of Skywalker, which is just a dumpster fire of a movie, right?
Yeah.
An interesting idea is in there, which is like Rey needs to call out to the ancestral Jedi for wisdom and power to defeat the ultimate evil in the end. That's a cool idea because it's Yoda told us earlier in the series, like, this is a possibility. It's like, what does he say to Obi-Wan at the end of episode 3? I'm going to teach you how to commune with Qui-Gon Jinn. So we know this is possible. But the way that it's executed in episode 9 is so amorphous and like, I don't even
stupid.
I don't even know what that was. She's like, they get kind of talk to her and she gets up and then boom, she's fine. In this, it's like, oh, there's some actual concrete like logic to the way it works, right? He has to come of this moment, right? He has to like make his decisions and overcome something. And then he can have that clarity that we look for when like you're one with the Force, you're at peace and everything else is, as settled as it can be. Well, then you can clearly use, then he can see Qui-Gon, or then Qui-Gon decides, okay, now it's time for me to show up. Like,
right.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was totally well executed.
And even the, at the end, Travis, when he finally meets Luke, he's allowed to, and he says the line, "Hello there." I mean, that made me giddy with joy because that's such a silly line that's been memed to death, for better and for worse. But it actually had, like, they knew that, and I think they wanted to have fun, like you mentioned, and to bring that in there. But they did it in a way that just makes sense. It's not even like, it's not like, oh, that was stupid, or oh, I see, they're trying to be clever. It's just like, what is he supposed to say?
Right.
Like, those are the words that Obi-Wan would say.
It'd be great if he walked up to Luke and said, "I hate sand." Oh, that would have been the better callback.
Yes.
I love the direction of this thing, man. Like, Deborah Chow nailed the
She's got it.
heck out of it, man. Give her own movie or trilogy or whatever you want to do. Like, she has the golden ticket as far as I'm concerned. She gets it. The depiction and handling of, like, I wasn't sure how much Vader was going to be in this, and there's a lot, and it doesn't suck. It's great because they humanize him in all the right ways, and yet he's horrifying in all the ways he should be. The final moments with him and Obi-Wan are the thing about Star Wars, people, whether you like this movie or that movie, these movies oftentimes work because they rhyme, right? So like when you have Obi-Wan and Anakin's duel where he says, like, what does he say? Like, I killed Anakin, Vader is all that remains, or something to that effect. And Obi-Wan says, then my friend is truly dead, right? It's tragic and so sad, but like if you just like think about the big picture, he's wrong, and that's amazing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the conclusion that he comes to is like, I have actually with finality failed this person, and this person has made a conscious choice to embrace evil. And that's what Luke decides not to do in Return of the Jedi. And that is, the mercy that Luke shows him is the ultimate act of, mercy that brings him to turn against the Emperor and embrace the light side of the Force. It's just, the rhyming of it is so well done because it's not this carbon copy plot point. Let's dredge up everything that people like about the old movies and just paste them. It's like they rhyme in a meaningful way for characters. It's just good storytelling, man. It's solid.
I agree. Please keep it as one season.
Oh, for the love. Oh gosh. Please. That's my worst fear. My worst fear is that they'll be like, people like this. Luckily, it's been kind of divisive, and I think that will work in our favor. They may not. They may move on, and that would be just fine because I think we're out of interwar period Star Wars telling ability. You know what I'm saying? Like Rogue One and this combined, you can't go between anymore. Like you were saying, Justin, after we watched it, you were like, he cannot fight Vader again. He cannot develop a relationship with Luke. He can't, there's all these things that they came just up to the line and didn't cross it that, if they do another season, it's going to suck. There's nothing they can do with that character that's going to bring any more goodness or closure.
I agree. And so let this be, because I know Lucasfilm folks listen to our podcast a lot. I don't know if you've seen them, Travis.
Sure.
That's who we were getting most of the calls about. Hey, when's the next episode? What are you guys doing?
No, I have a call scheduled with Kathleen as soon as this ends. Yeah.
Okay. So, well, would you just, remind her then that the galaxy is a very big place?
Oh, gosh, yes.
And, there is so much. I think George Lucas obviously laid a really great framework and kind of told the Star Wars Skywalker saga, as we call it now.
Yes.
But gosh, he also created this huge world while he was at it. And so with its own kind of rules and its own wisdom, its own heroes and villains.
Yes.
And so there's a huge sandbox that everyone's really upset about, fighting over the 4x4 square foot sandbox.
Right.
But if we look around, there's a gazillion miles in every direction. And all we need is some good folks like Deborah Chow or Dave Filoni or Bryce Dallas Howard in my book too, to take the reins and be allowed to go and tell their stories in that universe. Because there's a lot out there, I think, Travis.
Let the movie speak